Been in the wilderness, seems like 40 years, searching for water cool and sweet and clear. I met a band of wanderers that tell me that it's near. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water.
Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water.
Come to the water and live. Some say it moves by moonlight, some say it's by the sun, some say it's been here since time had begun. Some say it's many, some say it's one.
Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water.
Come to the water and live. Men in robes will tell you that they own the stream. Just move yourself upriver. Their power is a dream. You can hold a mouthful in a trembling hand, but if you make a fist, not a drop can remain.
Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water.
Come to the water and It doesn't matter with a bowl or a cup, with a glass or a bucket, you can lift it up. It doesn't matter if you feel or if you think. When you are parched, all you have to do is drink.
Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come down to the water.
Come to the water and live. Everybody's thirsty. Come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty. Come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty. Come on down to the water. Come to the water and live. Come to the water and live. Come to the water.
Thank you, Dan and Claudia, for that beautiful song written by our own Dan Weymouth and requested for this service. Good morning, friends, here in our sanctuary and out there online, and Happy Lunar New Year. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. My name is Maureen Shaman, and I am pleased to serve as worship associate this morning for our fellowship's Board of Trustees, of which I was a member for 4 glorious years. Our interim minister is Pastor Madeline Campbell, and Deborah Little is our Director of Religious Education, who will be happy to speak with you about religious education program for children during coffee hour following the service. I want to offer a special welcome to any of you who are visiting today for the first or second time or who still feel like newcomers. Whatever your color, age, orientation, gender, ability, we are glad you came. Our living tradition is committed to freedom of belief, inclusion, equity, and justice. You can find additional information about the 7 principles we strive to live by on our website at UUFSB.org. Before you leave this morning, please sign our guest book in the foyer, and we hope you will have time to join us after the service for coffee or tea and conversation. For those who are with us online, the link for today's order of service is posted in the chat and is also on our website. There is also a link to a form we hope you'll complete so we can send you our weekly newsletters and you can see all we have going on here. After the service, if you sign off and return to our website, you'll find the link for joining our small group chats. Whether here or online, you will find plenty of folks who can answer any questions you may have. I have some enchanting announcements for you, and you can find even more cool stuff that's going on in the insert in your order of service. First, several board members will be available after the service right up here in front for any questions you may have for or about the board. 2, at Le Petit Salon de Musique, today at 2 p.m., yay, it's back, we'll have Virtue vocalists Ron and Julianne Mikesell with pianist Doris Ann McMullen. Details can be found on the Le Petit Salon de Musique website. Our Racial Concerns Committee will be celebrating Black History and Culture Month in February, beginning with a special service on February 5th, and followed by a series of 3 facilitated discussions on the 2022 UU Common Read, Cast, The Origins of Our Discontents, by Isabel Wilkerson. So if you haven't already done so, we hope you will get a hold of this thought-provoking book, start reading, and plan to join in. See the newsletter or any RCC member, raise your hands if you're here. Yeah, lots of them, for further information. And we are now in the 30 Days of Love, which begins each year on Martin Luther King Jr. Day and finishes on Valentine's Day. This is an annual period of spiritual nourishment, political grounding, and shared practices of faith and justice for all ages, created by Side with Love, our national UU organization dedicated to ending all identity-based oppressions. Each Monday, participants receive an email to nourish the spirit and offer insight. Go to sidewithlove.org for more information and click on 30 Days of Love to sign up and participate. Let us enter together, please, into the sacred space of worship with the sounding of the morning bell. Please stay silent until the bell can no longer be heard. I have asked all of our former board presidents who were able to come, of which I am one, to light the chalice this morning and be recognized once again for their service. It is not an easy job, but we have all kept the chalice burning and passed the light along. Thank you, Sarah Lutterby, Joanne Hammer, Rich Hall, Greg Maggio, Barbara Coley, Marie Baltz, and Avert Volkers. While you light, I will read the chalice lighting by Erica A. Hewitt. With full hearts, we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be, as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls. Thank you all. Thank you for being here.
Our opening words this morning are from Rainer Maria Rilke. I am much too alone in this world, yet not alone. The words are in your order of service if you'd like to read along. I am much too alone in this world, yet not alone enough to truly consecrate the hour. I am much too small in this world, yet not small enough to be to you just object and thing, dark and smart. I want my free will and want it accompanying the path which leads to action, and want during times that beg questions where something is up, to be among those in the know or else be alone. I want to mirror your image to its fullest perfection, never be blind or too old, to uphold your weighty, wavering reflection. I want to unfold. Nowhere I wish to stay crooked, bent, for there I would be dishonest, untrue. I want my conscience to be true before you. Want to describe myself like a picture I observed for a long time, one close up, like a new word I learned and embraced, like the everyday jug, like my mother's face, like a ship that carried me along through the deadliest storm.
Good morning, beloveds. I'm Deborah Little. I'm the Director of Religious Education serving this congregation. I'm very happy to see all of you. So, once upon a time, there was a congregation that had an unruly board of trustees. Oh, wait, that's the wrong story. Today's story is City Green by Diane DeSalvo Ryan. Once upon a time, in the very recent past, there was a street with lots of apartments in row houses. It could be in New York or in Philadelphia or in Detroit or many other places you could imagine. Now, one of the buildings on this street had been boarded up for a long time. A neighbor named Old Man Hammer had lived there, but whenever anyone asked him about it, he just hollered, "Scram!" He was hard as nails. 2 years ago, people from the city came and said, this building has to go. So a crane with a wrecking ball parked in front of the building and wham, smash, down it went. City workers came, picked up all the rubble, and poured dirt all over the empty lot. So you know what happened, right? People started to throw their garbage in the lot, and the wind blew more garbage into the lot. And it became an ugly dumping ground. And every day, a young girl named Asha walked by the lot, and she felt very sad. Now, last spring, Asha and her neighbor, Miss Rosa, started to go to the park to collect dirt. They would plant flowers in coffee cans, and they would first fill them with dirt. And they passed by Old Man Hammer, and he stopped them and said, "Pfft, this good-for-nothing lot has plenty of dirt." So Asha and Miss Rosa looked at each other. Wow, it's just like a giant coffee can. Asha wanted to start planting in the lot right away. But bureaucracy, you know. "It's a city lot now," said Old Man Hammer. "Maybe you can rent it." So Asha and Miss Rosa formed a group from their block, maybe kind of like a board. And they gathered signatures and went to City Hall to rent the lot. And it was actually really easy, which is shocking to most of us, I know. And the rental was only $1. At least that's what the book says. So the next Saturday morning, Asha was up early, and so was her mama. And her mama brought lots of paper bags and went into the lot and started to pick up trash. And Asha's older brother even came to help, and he was a teenager. Then Miss Rosa came, then neighbor after neighbor after neighbor. All day, they picked up the trash. The only one who wouldn't help was, you guessed it, Old Man Hammer. "You're all wasting your time," he said. On Monday, the city came by and dropped off tools in a big dumpster. More people came to help, except Old Man Hammer. "Why is he so cranky?" asked Asha's brother. "Well," said Asha, "maybe he's sad because he used to live in that building." "Give him time," said Miss Rosa. "Good things take time." So Mr. Bennett from down the street made a fence and a gate out of wood slats that he had kept in his house, and Mr. Rocco brought bright yellow paint to paint the fence, and everyone had ideas about what to plant, and everyone helped. By the end of the day, the lot was full of plots of tomatoes and bean plants, marigolds and daisies, pepper plants of all colors, onions, carrots, potatoes, watermelon, and irises and lilies. Later that night, from her bedroom window, Asha saw Old Man Hammer quietly open the gate and walk to the very back of the lot, and she saw him sprinkle something onto the dirt. So the next day, she went in to investigate, and sure enough, there were seeds there. And so she put up a little fence to protect his seeds. Each day, all summer, neighbors came by to care for the garden. Mrs. Wells showed Asha where her flowers were planted and said, "This is right where my grandmother's bedroom used to be." Asha felt a little sad about that. The lot had a lot of history for people in the neighborhood. But every day, Asha walked to the back of the lot where she had put up the little fence. And one day, she saw some little tiny stems coming up. She ran out of the lot and ran over and grabbed Old Man Hammer's hand and said, "Please, you have to come with me. I have to show you something." So he went with her, and when he saw the tiny plants that he had sown, he shook his head and he said, "Mercy, child, this lot was good for nothing, but now it's nothing but good." When summer ended, the lot was full of all kinds of vegetables, herbs, flowers, and at the very back of the lot, where Old Man Hammer sat on a small bench every day, was a beautiful patch of tall yellow sunflowers. All across this country, people have joined together to turn dirt lots into gardens. They organize and work together. They deal with all kinds of neighbors and community members and bureaucracies, and they help make communities strong. They heal broken hearts and bring people together, not unlike the work of a board. Amen. So I invite you all to join in singing the Reeb Children's Benediction, which is at the back of either hymnal. Oh, I guess it's just gray today. And children, please follow your RE teachers. Will you stand? There they are at the back. Follow your RE teachers back to the classrooms.
How many of you have been on the Fellowship's Board of Trustees? Keep your hand up and also raise your hand if you've been on the board of any nonprofit organization. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. So you folks all know the feeling of weighty responsibility and general bafflement that hovers like a miasma around people on nonprofit boards. Those of you who did not raise your hands may have no idea what I'm talking about or what our board does here. When I joined the board in 2011, like many board newbies, I had no earthly idea what it did or what I was supposed to do. What do we do about, do we let them use the fellowship for, and how are we going to pay for it all anyway? I found my way, or rather, we found our way together, as good boards do. We were often mired in day-to-day management decisions and problems. This week's fracas with Imagination Preschool swallowed half an hour of every meeting for over a year. The financial decisions were often truly scary, such as committing to raise the pay of all 4 employees to fair compensation standards from a surplus which was rapidly diminishing. But we also, with Reverend Markey's help, undertook over the course of years to make a massive shift in the board's functioning and focus so that it could spend most of its time thinking about policy, governance, strategy, big questions. Who are we in the world? Whom do we want to include, invite, and become? How do we get there? How do we care for each other? How do we allow the new to emerge without clinging to what has always been? I loved my time as a board member. Being president was another matter entirely. You will learn diplomacy or die trying. Just kill me now. I said yes when I was recruited because I wanted to give back to this fellowship which had sustained me through one of the darkest times of my life, like a ship that carried me along through the deadliest storm, in Rilke's words. But as you'll also hear today from our current board members, being on the board is its own spiritual journey. Marge Piercy says in her poem, To Be of Use, I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Board work is a form of service, which we offer from our souls out of love for this place, and with which we nourish our spirits. It is fascinating and frustrating, fun and boring, lonely and companionate, tedious and inspirational. One learns to listen more than speak, and to argue one's case while respecting the views of others. In her book, Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds, Adrienne Marie Brown says, quote, we are socialized to see what is wrong, missing, off, to tear down the ideas of others and uplift our own. But our entire future may depend on our ability to listen without assumptions or defenses, end quote. We need each other. We are here to hold each other and to challenge each other. We want to unfold, says Rilke. Times are always changing, but right now our congregation is in a time of transition, which is always a bit scary. Our current board will give us some thoughts about how they dance together, much like they joyously collaborated on this service, how they hold on and let go, move forward and stand their ground, talk and listen, understand and synthesize, and speak as one voice while holding as precious what each individual brings, continually creating a whole greater than the sum of its parts.
Doomed. That's what I felt when Sarah said, it's your turn to be on the board once my turn is up. There was a certain twinkle in her eye that I've learned to take as a warning sign. You'll probably become president too. Again, that twinkle. Double doomed. What had I done wrong to deserve this? Part of my dread at the thought of being president was my experience chairing departments at Stony Brook University. My colleagues were wonderful, well, most of them, but each one had their research and thought it was my duty as chair to provide them with all the resources they could want and to shape the curriculum in favor of their interests. Once I retired, I thought my administrating days were over. Into my second year as prez, I can honestly say that I look forward to board meetings. I realize that unlike academia, everyone is after the same thing, the well-being of the congregation. There is a variety of opinions, but none are self-serving or disruptive. Everyone is thoughtful, willing to listen and speak with equal care. As a group, we are generous, willing to sit in silence until someone feels their thoughts are sufficiently organized to share. These deliberations are invaluable for building consensus. I know my point of view has been significantly changed by what others say, resulting in a better understanding or plan of action. What I find fascinating is the different way people think. There are those of us who are practical, analytical minds and are focused on deciding the next steps. And then there are those who, like me, want to understand the complexities of what we are talking about. It isn't black and white, of course. Each person approaches decision-making from their personal wealth of experience. But each one of us is guided by our love and concern for the spirituality of the fellowship. At the end of my first year as president, I said goodbye to retiring board members and dreaded the thought of starting anew with a bunch of newbies. My fears were groundless. Each member took the baton, barely missing a beat. There were adjustments to be made, moments of tension that were resolved by recognizing we are people of goodwill, wanting what is best for this small community within our larger community. The best part of the experience is that we laugh. I've often thought that people who laugh together can work together. In some ways, that is what I value most, our laughter. At the end of each meeting, I take a few minutes to thank everybody for making my job so easy. I suspect they're beginning to think that this is just a pro forma nicety. Perhaps it is, but it is also heartfelt. Working with them is making me a better person as a leader and as a spiritual being. I now invite you to rise in body and spirit and sing hymn number 1 in our hymnal, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
organizations are inherently in a state of tension. Religion at its best asks us to try to change the world toward a more ideal condition. It is basically revolutionary. Organizations are inherently conservative. They seek to maintain whatever value already exists. The need to balance both sides of this paradox, the transforming power of religion and the stabilizing power of organization, makes leading congregations a unique challenge. I came to the board from a background of religious studies. I've been involved in the study and writing about UU religious thinking for many years. As a consequence, I tend to see the prophetic side of our religion more immediately. Being on the board has helped me to see the organizational side. While sometimes in the background, I think the tension between these two is always present in the work of your board. Frequently, it is day-to-day challenges which are at the forefront of our work. Yet there is always a background concern with the values and missions of a UU religious organization. I think this showed up in a modest but important way in our recent deliberations about reopening after our initial close down due to the COVID problem. We had succeeded in creating a viable way to continue to function using Zoom while minimizing the risk associated with in-person assembly, but it became clear to many of us that while we could conduct services over Zoom, we were losing a portion of our role as a religious organization by not supporting the power of person-to-person interaction. To try to better fulfill our role, we devised a form of multi-platform services. This allows a portion of the congregation to gain the benefit of in-person services while we retain the option of online for those who are unable to take advantage of that. We need to continue to look at how we are doing this to ensure we are doing the best we can. And it turns out we are reaching some people with the online services whom we might not reach at all otherwise. This creates another religious dimension, which we need to consider when we look at possible changes to what we are doing. One example from the recent past shows this tension between our need to maintain the organization and our need to fulfill a religious role in a strong way. And that was our struggle to find the right path regarding the Black Lives Matter issue. That was a situation where our principals called us to take a stand, which we knew would create a rift within our membership. While most of us felt the demand to stand up for what seemed right was clear, it was also clear that taking a stand as a congregation would possibly cost us a few members and at least a few concerns. We took that stand on principle, but we also engaged in a study of ways to make such stands that would ensure that everyone's voice could be heard before we move forward as a congregation. We were trying our best to balance the prophetic religious role with our conservative role as an institution. Achieving that balance remains my goal in all my work with our board. Being on the board has made me more aware of the tension involved.
In our time of reflection and meditation this morning, we will hear some words by Gina Whitaker, then a minute or two of silence, and then Joanne will bring us out with hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. If you don't know it, you may want to open your hymnal now. In the silence, I invite you to think of the ways this fellowship has served you, all the ways in which you have served it in return, and some additional ways you may feel called to serve in the future. Remembering we hold open the door to welcome the multitudes who may yet enter. We set the pace, teach by example, and encourage growth, sustaining a spirit of abundance and a connection to the greater good. Remembering that we hold a lamp to illuminate others' visions, we pledge our service, listen to each other, and pool our individual gifts with transformation as our goal. Serving together, we are building Unitarian Universalism. We are bonding in unity and love. We are blessing each other.
I stand before you today as a high school student and somehow a member of the board. I know I have to pinch myself sometimes just to make sure that it's real. When I was first asked to join the board, I was filled with feelings of confusion, surprise. Why me? Aren't I a kid? Nevertheless, I said yes. I said yes with a smile. I say yes with joy. A nervous smile, but an optimistic one. I say yes to serving the wise community that helped make me who I am today. As the youngest board member, I live facing towards the future. Where am I? As the youngest member, I live facing towards the future each day. Heck, I even used AI to write this. Isn't that future looking? I may know how to build a computer or create other worlds in virtual reality, but I still have so much to learn. I feel like an amateur, still figuring things out, making my way. Most of what I do is listen, ask questions, and learn from the wise members beside me. I may still be figuring out spreadsheets, but I am confident in one thing. I know how to love. Not just tolerate, not just accept, but truly love. Love dirt, love bees, love cold days and warm hugs. Love the people around me. To appreciate the diversity of each person and welcome them with open arms. That I'm confident in. Thank you.
It is our spiritual practice to share our offering plate with an organization that does work in the world that is aligned with our principles. All cash will be shared 50-50 between UUFSB and the social justice recipient unless you instruct us differently. And if you write a check or pay online, please instruct on the memo line how much is to go to social justice and how much to your pledge. The recipient for the month of January is Multicultural Solidarity, an organization co-founded by our own Joel Diamond. Their signature program is Diversity, Unity, Friendship, and Sharing Circles, designed to build relationships across artificial divides while addressing issues of race, misogyny, and other prejudices. They also have social justice teams planning for transformation of structural racism on Long Island, currently working on fair housing, diversity in schools, and transportation equity. Please give generously.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see, no, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, how the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me.
please read with me the words in your order of service for dedicating the offering. To the work of our faith, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and our offerings. Amen.
As many of you know, I am one of the newer members of the board, only 6 months old. When I was invited to be a candidate for the board this past June, I thought carefully about what I could contribute and remember thinking, I don't know a thing. After 6 months, I don't mind admitting that I find myself still saying the same thing. The experience of not knowing a thing has been sweetened by getting to know my fellow board members, who are a dedicated and delightful group of people with open vision and a great sense of fun, and that's no small thing. As I reflect on my reasons for deciding to join the board, I knew I wanted to deepen my connection with our community, and I was influenced by a desire to help with the uncertainty and transition that last year has brought to our congregation. We have been through a lot together in recent times, to say the least. In many ways, the changes I have experienced have felt to me like a major reorganization of my familiar reference points. There is a sense of losing what I have counted on knowing in order to feel secure. For me, and I would venture to guess for many of you, being thrown into the winds of so much change has felt overwhelming and frightening at times. I wonder if you feel the shifting of solid ground under us as I do. I am in touch with my own efforts to hold tight to a sense of certainty and predictability when my actual experience in this moment is telling me that I can't be certain of how things will turn out. So, my decision to join the board relates to finding a way to navigate this uncharted terrain with you, dear friends, and hold on to the confidence that we can find our way together. All I know for sure is what is happening in this moment, and I will share with you that right now, I feel solid in my connection with you. I am better able to face not knowing what will emerge in the next moment by holding on to our support of each other. I would still like to be able to feel secure about what will come of all this change. My work with the board and my connection with you help me trust in our capacity to respond together to whatever will come next. I believe the smallest and simplest act can have a positive effect on creating change, and my work with the board gives me an opportunity to give caring attention in this moment to our relationship with each other. It is one way that I have found to feel more grounded in this changing world and strengthens my sense of belonging to a loving community. To quote author Terence Real, "The world does not belong to us. We belong to each other."
Our next reading is African Spirit by Anthony Y. Stringer. There is a spirit within nature and a spirit within me. Perceiving its presence, I am filled with joy, and I strive to be mindful. Perceiving its grandeur, I am filled with reverence, and I approach to worship. Perceiving its power, I strive to be in harmony. To feel it, perceiving its beneficence, I am filled with gratitude, I am moved to serve others. Perceiving its creativity, I am filled with awe, and I am inspired to create. Perceiving its mystery, I am filled with wonder and the passion to discover. This, then, is the spirit within nature, and the nature of spirit within me. Ashe.
In my non-UU life, I'm a school administrator, so I'm used to being in charge. But working on UU committees, and especially being on the board, has taught me to lead in a different way. It's kind of like dancing. Some of you know that Jack and I have been taking dance lessons for several years. We aren't great, but we have a lot of fun. It wasn't always fun. Some of our biggest arguments started on the dance floor. But we've learned to let go, be less defensive, respond to the gentle pressure that allows you to move together. To dance with a partner requires awareness of that pressure so that you can feel the next steps. You need to pay attention to your partner, but you also need to be willing to be a little vulnerable because you don't know everything and you will make mistakes. And you need an awareness of the other people on the dance floor so that you don't knock anyone over. Being on the board is like dancing, but with a group. We pay attention to each other, and sometimes we apply some gentle pressure, but we are careful not to step on each other's toes. We move with the flow, and no one starts doing the cha-cha when everyone else is trying to salsa. One of the regular dances of the board is the finance dance. As Dave said, there's some tension, and we have to try to balance what's best for the congregation with what we can afford. During the time of reopening, we were also facing a budget crisis with a substantial deficit, and none of us knew what would happen in the next few months. Should we buy air purifiers? Upgrade the HVAC system? And then questions of how to keep everyone safe while balancing their spiritual needs. Do we require masks? Vaccinations? Do we have coffee hour? Doors open despite the cold? Our board meetings could have become more like a mosh pit than a dance. But we managed to listen to each other and come to consensus. Looking back now, I think we made the right decisions. Jack would argue that I need to keep working on this as his dance partner. Full disclosure, I still struggle with not leading us when we dance. But I think we've gotten pretty good at dancing together as a board. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 311 in our hymnal, Let It Be a Dance.
Our closing words today are by Heather Rion Starr, titled, I Am Not Alone, There is a Love Holding Me. May I move gently through this cloudy, murky, gray day. May I remember that this is just one day, and that showing up is at least half of what is asked of me. May I set aside my underlying anxiety that I will not get to everything, and put my trust and faith into the riverbank of human community we are working together. I am not alone. There is a love holding me that is unconcerned with my day's to-do list, and more concerned with my spirit's survival, even its thriving in this beautiful, challenging world. May we all remember that Rome is not built in a day, that our efforts are part of an ongoing stream of efforts, of lives being lived beside one another, shoring up this world. May what little I do today be for the greater good. May I be gentle with others today as I long for others to be gentle with me. May it be so.
Benediction is by Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
If there's something on your mind, speak on up. If there's something to be said, then speak your mind. If your voice shakes and the earth starts to quake, speak on up, let it be said, speak your mind. Speak on up, speak on up, yeah. Speak on up, 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 oh, speak on up, 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 speak your mind. Speak on up.